It's the beating. It's the banging. It's the short tempers on an even shorter track. It's Bristol, baby, and we are here today to break down all of our favorite bets for this short track racing. So why don't you come on down the back road with us and hang a few.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the States.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the back road. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. And if you can believe it, it's a Thursday once again. And I got to flip us here. Okay. Here's me. And here's Rod. And I can't get these to flip the right way. So technical difficulties, of course, as Seth Woolcock off this week. He normally is the magician behind this. There we go. Awesome. Thank you to Nicolette as well in the background for fixing my ineptitude with the StreamYard layout here. Anyway, my name's Elliot Hicks, with me, Rod Villagomez. Rod, thanks for dealing with my bullshit already, as I can't figure out how the StreamYard works.
Listen, as somebody who is over the age of when you probably should stop doing this, I totally forgive you in not being able to work it, because I'm getting to the point now where somebody's going to have to show me how to use the remote control before too long. So we're good, Elliot. We're good.
Man, I had everything else down, but just couldn't get the box layout right. But thankfully, that's out of the way, and we are on to tonight's program, where we'll look back in the rear view, talk about our reaction from Darlington, give you a little news update, our horizon forecast. We'll break down the weekend at Bristol as we head to Thunder Valley, the last great Coliseum. And, of course, we'll round out with our parking garage props, mainly talking about the Cup Series. But we've got a bet each for Xfinity trucks and Formula One in Bahrain this weekend. It'll be a fun one, and it is always a fun time over in the IBT Racing Family Discord. Gives you entry into our memorabilia giveaways, exclusive weekly betting model access, which is really probably what you're there for. But if you like talking to all of us too, you get to chat with myself, with Seth, with Rod, with Ryan for My Fantasy Race, our data wizard, and with the rest of the fam. You know, we're very happy to have had this little community going for a little while now, and we're hoping to keep it up as the season goes on. Just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, less than $1 per race. We're really hoping to see you guys over there. Rod, it's been a good time.
Yeah, and listen, those extras that you get, just the people chatting about this all the time, it's nonstop when it comes to everybody talking through their strategies, and you get very, very good at picking up on what you should be doing, because we only do this for about an hour a week, right? But back in that Discord family, they're talking all the time. If news breaks, they're on it. If odds drop, they're on it. So yeah, definitely a good place to get involved.
Man, and the odds change like crazy, whether it's even before practice and qualifying. Man, I was looking and setting up my card today. This morning, I saw one number. I go to log into my account and deposit money, and then the numbers changed. We'll talk more about that later, but it certainly is a crazy world of betting out there. And, of course, after P's and Q's, we give you some additions and discussion on occasion, too, over there. Shout out to those listening on the audio version over on Apple Podcasts. We post that over there. Leave us a review, whether you like us and give us 5 stars, whether you hate us and give us 1 star, whatever you want to do. We're trying to get the reviews flowing. We're going to do a little 164th, little micro giveaway. Seth is calling it here soon. Once we get some more, the link to both that and the IBT Racing Family in the episode description. And while you're here, like and subscribe too if you like the content. In Between Media, it's got a little bit of everything rolling. We got NASCAR content. We still got football content rolling, golf content, big weekend, the Masters this weekend. I'm excited to watch. Got entertainment betting content as well, and just about everything you can ask for over there at in-betweenmedia.com. Also, a little betting model preview every Friday morning with my bets article. I give you a couple extra picks as well as preview the top 10 of the model. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look back at Darlington in the rear view. All right, so we just wrapped up the weekend at Darlington, the Goodyear 400 Cup race. In the Xfinity Series, Brandon Jones gets back to victory lane, breaks a long winless streak. In the Cup Series, we saw someone get about as close as you can get in the modern day to the perfect game of NASCAR. William Byron leading the first 200 some odd laps. loses it in the last pit cycle. Ryan Blaney makes a hard charge to the front, and as soon as he makes the pass for the lead, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace get together. Denny Hamlin and his pit crew steal one, back-to-back victories for the number 11. Exciting weekend of racing, even if we had some late chaos that I know we don't really love.
Hey, well, this is an aptly named segment, as the win for William Byron was close, right? The things in the rear view appear closer than they actually are, and that was William Byron's win this last weekend. It was closer than it appeared, unfortunately. Yeah, 243 laps for William Byron led on the race, swept stages 1, 2, almost 3, and you almost knew, Elliot, as the green flag stops were approaching, that we were not going to get a William Byron win. I mean, you can't weather the storms that happen on these green flag pit stops and expect to stay out in front. And then, of course, when that final caution came out, we knew we were toast. But hey, good on Denny. I actually had Denny, and we'll talk about who we had anyways in the last. But like I had said, it's been 10 years, but if anybody can break that streak, it's Denny Hamlin. And he was at the right place at the right time, led 10 laps that mattered, and ended up crossing the finish line with the checkered flag.
Yeah, and as it worked out, pretty good weekend for me too. I finally got my ESPNBet set up. Some of these books have been iffy in Pennsylvania. I had it back when it was Barstool, and then cycled back to ESPNBet. A couple of bonus bets thrown my way. Threw one on Hamlin. That, along with other bets, it turned out to be my biggest winning weekend. So if that tells you how small my unit sizes normally are, a $20 bonus bet on an outright was far and away my best winning weekend. So that shows I need to up my unit sizes. And I would have been even better off with Blaney. Seth was fading Blaney in the middle of the show last week. I said, you know what? Blaney's been fast. He was fast at Homestead, the track we're comping. And once again, had that best long run car late, and I would have had the Blaney outright on that same number, the Ford outright, as well as the even number bet. Seth had the odd number side. I had the even number side. So could have been even better had it worked out. But thankfully, the Hamlin outright worked. Hit a few matchups, Buescher over Bowman, which I thought was the slam dunk of the week, and almost didn't work with pit strategy, but ended up working out. Reddick over Larson, 4 laps in, I knew that one was going to hit. Glad that I had some hedge and fade in Larson there. Chastain over Kyle Busch, 2 hit. In the Xfinity race, I had Kvapil over Gray, but otherwise a pretty unsuccessful day. F1, though, was big this week. Got on the Verstappen outright, but only at plus 220. Behrman in the points, I had at plus 162. And this one, I got to shout out Mallory, my girl on this one. Just random markets. Of course, you can bet just about anything in F1. Last driver to make a pit stop. She was like, oh, why not Carlos Sainz? And that hits at a 17-1. So that certainly helped my big weekend as well.
Oh, those ones are tough too. The last one to make a pit stop, because you just don't know. I mean, you're literally, it's almost like, yeah, it is. It's almost like first to pit, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know who is going to be the one in the right position to pit. So that's a great hit. I love that. Yeah, F1 was great this weekend. I definitely, was a Max Verstappen fan again, because hard to keep that guy out of the winner's circle. But as far as Darlington's concerned, yeah, the only one that I really hit was Byron as a top 5 at plus 210 and over 7.5 cautions at plus 120. Almost. See, this is what I said too when I was handicapping this cautions, right? I said that if we get that final caution and it breaks some steam, at least I get this, because then I'm happy that there's over 7.5 cautions. Guess what? We were sitting at 7 cautions, and then all of a sudden the last one hits, and I was like, well, there you go. That's exactly why I said I wanted that one as well. So happy about that one. And then as far as the Xfinity series was concerned, that was not very good for me, because I was not very happy. I did have Elliott over Creed. That one hit, but other than that, it was pretty much, I missed out on Jeb Burton, 9-1 for a top 10 by 5 spots. Unfortunately, that one didn't hit. Austin Hill, for the first time in his career, forgot how to finish top 5, essentially. And Sheldon Creed did not get the win in that particular race. So that was tough. Yeah, it was just a tough weekend overall, because there were some shenanigans that happened that kind of took me out of it.
Yeah, I was heavy on Sheldon Creed too, and was disappointed that he didn't run any better. So definitely smart to fade him. I neglected to shout out some of the people in the chat here. We had Cushion a few hours ago. Ryan Preece for the win. Hey, I like some RFK this week. We'll talk more about that later. Blaze Wolf, #8. It's Bristol, baby. First time being live for the stream. Glad to be here. Thank you very much for hopping in. Marcus as well. Wonder who his pick to win is. Any guesses? Christopher Bell. Shout out Marcus for joining in. And shout out Mallory as well. Again, 17-1 on the Carlos Sainz. Much appreciated for the help on that one. So that certainly was fun too.
Yeah. As far as just to put a bow on Darlington, it was some good racing. I mean, let's put it that way. It wasn't I know a lot of people are like, oh, that was a horrible. There was actually good racing to be had at Darlington. I'm not completely all mad about it because I can take myself out of the betting aspect of it and from the entertainment standpoint. I mean, watching William Byron lead that much, it does, for some people, I know they want to see passing. I want to see passing. I don't mind seeing dominance like that because that means he was fast, right? And that's what you want, fast cars. So I'm not mad at Byron for leading all that. And of course, you see sometimes fastest car does not always win the race.
Right. And plenty of good racing back through the field as well. It wasn't like Martinsville where nobody passed anybody in the last 100 laps. You were able to see Blaney make the charge. It's just the clean air helped so much, and Byron was clearly good enough and lucky enough to stay out front that far. It's tough because I feel like Fox focuses on the lead so much, you don't realize the whole rest of the field's getting pretty racy if they're only able to show one battle at a time, mainly focusing on the lead. In terms of news this week, some losses in the NASCAR community. Rest in peace, Shige Hattori, Truck Series owner, John Edwards, Hendrick, PR, and Al Pierce, a motorsports writer as well. We talked about Legacy and Rick Ware going through some lawsuit trouble last week. The number came out that Legacy has supposedly agreed to pay Ware $45 million for that charter when that does happen, which is a new record, and that's definitely a shocking number, Rob.
Oh my God, 40. Why not 48 million? Let's keep it. Or 84 million. Let's keep it in the Legacy family. But actually, yeah, 45 million. That's 43, 42. Could have been somewhere in there. That's a lot of money for a Rick Ware charter. But I guess Legacy is starting to make moves, and we've seen Eric Jones and John Hunter. I feel like they're going to improve. I feel like they should get better with all this money being pumped in. But yeah, that's a lot of money for a charter.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, people only think those numbers are going to go up. So it'll be interesting to watch there as well. Some other legal news that broke: Lamar Jackson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. over the number 8. As it turns out, Lamar was not going after the DEI Bud 8 style of number 8. He was going after the JRM number 8, which Dale has said they weren't really going to plan on using anymore. That was just kind of a backup. They wanted to trademark it since they've been using it. So Dale said, hey, I've got the Bud 8. I've got the one that I want. I've got the one that sold all the merch that they're running. He's running late models at Cordelli, Georgia this weekend in the car store. He didn't really give a shit about the old JRM8, so that is no longer an issue. Some other scheduling news for the future. Catherine Legge, everyone's favorite ringer, is going to be coming back for Xfinity next week at Rockingham and at Charlotte Coke 600 weekend in the Jordan Anderson number 32, and is supposedly going to run the Cup race at Mexico City. That's a 7-race total deal with ELF Cosmetics, ELF Cosmetics, Eyes, Lips, Face, I think that stands for. It'll be good to see her get more track time and try to avoid situations like what happened in Phoenix.
That was such a frustrating weekend for her. She just wanted to finish clean. She wanted to come across with little press for cars like that is probably the best because that means you're not getting into trouble or getting, holding up the leaders or getting mixed up. So, hopefully there's some quieter days for Catherine and she can run and finish the race. And then that's what we could be talking about.
Yeah, that'll certainly be nice to take that pressure off of her. And last but not least, some rumors from down under. Some more Supercars drivers supposedly moving and shaking, potentially getting some rides here in the coming weeks. Brock Feeney, who came up, visited SVG Martinsville, I believe, supposedly in line for some Xfinity road course starts with Colleague, and Will Brown, who ran the 33 for RCR. I think that was 2 years ago at this point now. Also linked to a potential Colleague Cup seat for the Chicago Street Course. They're trying to recapture this SVG magic. I don't know how well it's going to go, but it is nice to see these guys come over and at least give it a shot.
Most of the time imitators are not as good as the original, but SVG has definitely opened the floodgates and opened a new market for NASCAR to kind of look for talent because these guys, SVG proved it, right? SVG proved that there is talent down in that level, obviously, and they can handle road courses for sure. But now we just got to get them to be able to handle ovals, and then we're all golden.
Yeah, and that just takes some time. We saw it with Ambrose. We're seeing it with SVG now. It's just a learning process. We're heading to the Horizon Forecast shortly, but hey, this Rod guy, I'm glad you're here for Seth. If anybody should be tossed out, it's me. The Seth and Rod shows are good, that's for sure. But shout out to everyone here joining us tonight as we will now head and take a look at Bristol in this week's Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
The Last Great Coliseum is the site for this weekend's events. Our Cup entry list, 36 charters, as well as the 01 of Corey LaJoie coming back. Jesse Love making his Cup Series debut in that number 33 C4 energy drink car. And Josh Bilicki will run the 66 for Garage 66. Notably in the other series, Kyle Larson is going to try the triple duty again. That'll be really fun to watch this weekend. See if he can pull off the sweep that he came ever so close to doing at Homestead a couple weeks ago.
I think it's going to be harder for him in this track. He's not good at Bristol at all for the most part, especially the last few races. So, I mean, we'll see it. He's better, way better at the other tracks that he's better at to try the triple than this one. But, well, it should be fun. It gives us good odds, though, in the Xfinity and Truck Series.
Yeah, you weren't able to parlay those Larson odds, though, if you want to go for that sweep again, which definitely stinks. We'll talk more about that later. Hey, at the last Bristol race, too, I think he led, 462 of those 500 laps or something. So may as well come off of your best performance to run more there at Bristol. So it starts on Friday. We got a nice little triple header weekend, 3:35 on Friday, truck practice and qualifying. And 7:30 is the scheduled start time for the Weather Guard truck race, stage lengths 65, 65, and 120. There are pretty high chances of rain on Friday. According to rumors, as well as Bob Pockris, if they can't run on Friday, the truck should expect to run Sunday, potentially as early as a 9 a.m. Eastern start, but it is more than likely that the rain is out by the evening. And I don't know if wet weather tires are an option at Bristol just yet, especially not for the trucks.
God, no. Wet weather tires. You know what I love? We still haven't figured this out yet in NASCAR as a wet weather tire. It's good in F1, but I don't feel like NASCAR's wrapped its head around them yet.
Yeah, and it's a tough scenario, but glad that it's at least a conversation when back in the heyday when we were really starting to watch and stuff like that, it wasn't an option anywhere, road course or oval. Anyway, continuing the weekend schedule, Saturday, 11:30 on the CW app, Xfinity practice and qualifying, and then your Cup Series practice and qualifying starts at 2 on Prime. Then at 5 p.m. on the CW, the Xfinity race, the SciAps 300, stage lengths 85, 85, and 130. If I didn't shout them out for the trucks, the stage lengths 65, 65, and 120, I don't remember. And then Sunday's the big show, FS1, 3 o'clock, the Cup race, the Food City 500, 125, 125, and 250. Should be an exciting show. We saw last spring the tire wear was pretty nuts, and it led to some interesting racing. In the fall, it didn't quite work out that way. Like I said, Larson leading 450-plus laps on his way to a win.
Yeah, and then there's, everybody's talking about the whole tire issue, and now we're bringing back, was the same tire that we used last week, right? That's what we're bringing back for this one, and they're putting the compound down on the track. So this should be a racy track. This should be a racy race, and I think we're gonna have a lot of passing. We're gonna have a lot of fun. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this doesn't turn out to be one in which one guy comes out and leads 400 and some odd laps in this race, and we're just watching. Oh, but again, he leads 400 and some odd laps, still doesn't win. So I mean, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, certainly could happen. We just saw that last weekend, of course. Bristol's a pretty unique track, half-mile concrete, high banks. There's not really a primary comp to this. Some secondaries. Maybe you can look at some of the short tracks, maybe in Martinsville, maybe like North Wilkesboro, Bowman Gray. But Dover, in mine as well as Seth's opinion, seems to be the main comp track here. It's included in our model stats, the Dover finishes, as well as some other fun stuff. Do you agree with Dover as a comp or any of the other short tracks, or are you looking at Bristol completely unique?
I mean, it's pretty unique, and it's a one where these guys, it's a different mindset for these guys too, right? It's a 0.533 mile track, and they just know that winning at Bristol is huge, and they race it different. It's a much different mindset when they come to Bristol, because they know there's going to be beating, they know there's going to be banging, they know that, like I said in the beginning, hot tempers and short tempers on an even shorter track, and that's really what Bristol represents to these guys, and so. Yeah, there's no real comp tracks to it, and there's really no comp races to it either.
Yeah, I agree. Dover, a main comp, mainly because it's also made of concrete, even though it's a little bigger. Definitely a little bit of a different track. Shout out to some other folks in the chat. Nick joining us. Buescher or Gibbs will win. I got the Buescher RFK shirt again. We'll get to that shortly. We got Seth. The boys are buzzing. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. Thanks for checking in on us here, Seth. We appreciate you. He likes Buescher this week too. Nick likes Buescher, not to win, but on the card again. Seth, man, we can, you can look for Seth's card over in the Discord probably as well. Again, missing you this week, but we can make do without you, including me taking over the trends that Seth normally gives us. Some qualifying trends. Chase Elliott leads all active Cup Series drivers in average starting position, 7.8 in 15 starts. Definitely important here. Denny Hamlin leads all active drivers in poles. He's got 4. 13, 14, 15, and 19 the years which he won those. We've only had 4 next-gen Cup races here because we ran on the dirt for a couple of those years. So it's almost one of our newer tracks here, which makes things interesting. Only 3 active drivers winning a pole in the next gen: Bowman, Blaney, and Bell. Almirola in 2022, the other one to win a pole in the next gen. So no repeat pole winners as of yet. All time in Bristol poles, Hendrick has 13 among 6 drivers, which leads all time. Joe Gibbs Racing, 12 poles among 7 drivers. And over the whole course of time at Bristol, which of course dates back to the 60s, winner from the pole 21.6% of the time, from the top 5 58.4%, and from the top 10 78.4%. So you got to qualify pretty well here, even though this can be conducive to some passing. The deepest in the field that an active race winner has started, P20, that was by Christopher Bell in 2022. But the other 3 next-gen winners started either second or third. So, Rod, just as it is basically every week, qualifying up front going to be pretty important this week.
Well, and you get swallowed up if you're one of the back markers kind of early. It doesn't take long for these guys to start catching up to lap traffic. And so if you start getting picked off one by one in the back, it definitely gets hard to make yourself inside of the top 20 if you're already lapped. So, you're right. It's qualifying is going to be huge here, just so you can keep yourself away from the jaws of the first place guys, the leaders, as they come around and swallow up all these lap cars.
Yep, they'll get you quick. In terms of the race, 6 past Bristol winners are in the field. This was Kyle Busch's playground. He's won 8 times here, but most recently in 2019. Denny Hamlin, 4 wins, including 2 in the next gen. Brad Keselowski, 3 wins, but last in 2020. Kyle Larson has 2 wins here. They're both in the next gen. Joey Logano, 2 wins as well, but most recently in 2015. So it's been a while, but it had been a while since Denny Hamlin had won at Darlington and gets that done. And then Chris Buescher with his win here in 2022 as well. 12 drivers have won consecutive Bristol races, 2 active, Busch and Keselowski. So some hope for Larson. In terms of all-time wins here, Joe Gibbs Racing has the most with 15. Both Penske and Hendrick have 13. And RFK has 12 career wins here. Of course, in the next gen, we've talked about Buescher's win in 2022. We saw Denny Hamlin beat all our favorite drivers in 2023 in the fall, as well as 2024 in the spring. And then Kyle Larson winning last fall as well. In terms of overtime, a stat that I found interesting as well is, it happens more often nowadays, I feel like. In the Bristol spring race history, they had overtime 3 years in a row, 07, 08, and 09. And then in 14 and 15 back-to-back, but none since in the spring race. I know they put up that, will this race go to overtime market? Maybe a lean to bet no this week on that one.
It is kind of strange considering how much you can get yourself into trouble on this track, right? Just put the bumper in the wrong spot and send everybody crashing. But it seems like this is one where they can kind of run pretty cleanly, right? They don't try to get a little too aggressive when they don't have to, but or they're just a lot of people that give room at the end and like, okay, we don't want this thing to go to overtime because we don't need this.
Right, and probably by the end of the races too, it's still a battle of attrition. One of the few 500 lap races, really extensive races. A lot of the cars that maybe would have issues or cause those sort of problems, they're going to get themselves out of the way a little earlier on, so it's not a problem late on in the race. You could maybe say that's a way to look at it as well.
I would agree.
All right, so before we get to the bets, let's talk about our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. Always a great write-up from Ryan over there on just about everything, but including on Asterisk Mark Drivers from the previous race. This week, my contender is Ty Gibbs. Last fall at Bristol, Ty Gibbs, a top 10 contender, but he finished in Asterisk Mark P15 in that one. Started 15th, finished 8th in stage 1. During that stage caution, caught speeding on pit road, and that'll really hurt you. Dropped him back to the mid-20s. Passing's difficult. Like we said, running out back, the leaders will snatch you up real quick. He was not able to fully bounce back. Again, 15th, still not bad, but not as good as he could have been. In the spring race also was running pretty well early on, but then once we really got to that tire conservation chaos, I feel like his youth and inexperience definitely kind of hurt him. Probably finished worse off than his car was in the spring race as well.
Yeah, if you've listened to anything I've ever said on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, you know that I am not Team Ty Gibbs this year. I wanted to try to be Team Ty Gibbs, but the junior jinx is completely real for this guy. He is not. I mean, he's an asterisk every single week, apparently to me. I mean, yeah, he did finish inside of the top 10 finally, but I don't know. I got to see a lot more of that before I'm on Ty Gibbs again. So yeah, he's a good asterisk driver every week. So I like that.
Yeah, definitely tough to bet, and I don't believe he's on either of our cards this week. Let's go ahead and crack open the cards in the parking garage props. In terms of impressions of the books this week, I said it earlier, my only impression so far is that it really stinks that, as of this afternoon at least, the books are not letting you try the Larson parlay when you try to combine them. It says, nope, this one's not allowed.
I think they learned from last week how close it actually was to hitting that, or a couple of weeks ago, that this probably isn't a good opportunity to make any money off of people. Because if it hits, you're paying out a lot of money.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of people interested in that. I'm wondering if the books will put out maybe a pre-made parlay on odds that would be different than traditionally calculated. I don't know if that's something they would do. Maybe here you can have them, but it's going to be at odds that are already worse enough than his minus money outrights in Xfinity and Truck, and heavy favorite in the Cup markets as well.
Yeah, and the thing about betting Larson, and I know that, everybody was, and I don't know what I was thinking earlier in the show. I definitely wasn't thinking, but yeah, when you think about Larson, it's for him to be able to do this triple again, everything has to go right. And we hadn't seen it in the Xfinity race, especially too. And I don't know, to me, there's more that could go wrong than right when you start to do those parlays. And I know that's big odds. So you don't have to put a lot down to make a lot. So, I mean, it's fun, but like, I don't know. There's always somebody gremlins that can come out and get you.
Yeah, and I think the books like money more than they like fun, unfortunately. So that we'll have to see if that changes throughout the weekend. But
yeah,
in terms of liking money, I certainly want to continue this good outright train. And I got to go right back to the well. We both liked Denny Hamlin last week. We both like him this week again. I don't know that I've ever picked an outright as low and as juicy as a 5-1. It definitely is rare for me, even lower on DraftKings where we do the article every week. But, I mean, hey, maybe I'm beating the dead horse here. Hamlin going for 3 in a row. It doesn't happen often, but it's already happened with his teammate Christopher Bell earlier in the year. It's damn near impossible to look away from the 11 this week. In our model, he's got the best score that we've had all year, 97%. That's an A+ for sure. In the next gen, he's been no worse than P9 here. Obviously had the 2 wins. He's won the last 2 weekends. Man, we really couldn't have dreamed of this. He wouldn't have dreamed of it either after almost a year without wins. Wouldn't have dreamed of 3 in a row, but he's really got a great shot. And the model, too, definitely helped by Dover being included in the model where he won when we were there last April.
Well, and what's crazy is that, and every analyst out there was talking about, if you were to pick a 3-race stretch for Denny Hamlin to succeed, this is the 3-race stretch, because these are all tracks in which he has dominated, in which he has won, in which his name is pretty much etched on a lot of the major accomplishments on the track. So for Denny Hamlin, to pick up the 2 that he's picked up so far, we saw it already once from his teammate, like you said, this season, and we'll actually talk about him in a second too. But yeah, nothing surprises me at this point, and nothing can surprise me if Denny Hamlin does cross this one more time, because if you've forgotten, folks, it's 11 against the world.
Yeah, no doubt. Earned one at Martinsville, got one, kind of backed into one. How's it feel, Denny? To back into one, it feels pretty nice, doesn't it? But hey, pit crew earned the win there. Driver earned the win at Martinsville. I don't know, maybe the spotter gets him the win this week. The whole team effort there, 11 team against the world for sure. And you're staying in the Joe Gibbs Racing family for your outright pick of the week.
I'm 100% staying in there, and I'm going to give Christopher Bell his 4th win of the season already, plus 650, courtesy of BetMGM. All I got to say is this, right? I mean, I'm squad riding with you on the Hamlin thing, because I guarantee right now that there is a hot streak going on. And for a guy like Denny Hamlin, you let him get hot and it's at your own detriment, right? I guess it's something that you do at your own risk, and he's getting hot. So I'll 100% agree with you on Hamlin this week. But Christopher Bell, I mean, Gotta give a shout out to this guy. 3 in a row, a 2nd place finish at Martinsville, a 3rd place finish at Darlington. And he's not half bad at this track either. He's 4 for 4 in the last 4 races here that are on concrete at top 10 finishes. In fact, 3 for 4 in top 5 finishes, with a top 3 finish in there as well. Dude is leading laps like mad. 143 a few years ago, 187 after that. So he's fast on this track. He knows how to be up front, and you put that kind of dangerous situation in a guy that's already won 3 times this season. I mean, I think we could be in for another one. There's a lot of other great names on this one, but you're giving me a guy that's a consistent top 5 finisher, and somebody who is finished inside the top 3 over the last couple of weeks in some wacky races, to be honest with you. Christopher Bell, you can't ignore him. And at plus 650, Marcus, I'm giving you permission to once again call Christopher Bell.
See, Bell, not a bad pick for sure. Ranks 4th in our model. And the beautiful thing about betting a guy like Bell, a lot of wins early in the year. Already knows he's going to be top 5 seeding at worst for the playoffs. you can really play around with stuff. The pressure is almost off to a point. Obviously, you're going to collect data for the tracks you're going back to. Try to make your team as good as you can. And oftentimes without that pressure, though, you can fall into something and you can continue to rack up the wins. So Bell, if you need a bonus point for him too, won that dirt race in, I believe that was 23. So that'll give you a bonus point there. Although if they feel like anywhere on dirt, you can go Bell or especially Larson to get a win anywhere.
Indeed.
So Toyota, I definitely like this week, but I also got to go back on the Ford train. And before I go too far off the deep end, I'll go with a more logistical outright call on Ryan Blaney. He's a guy who I can't quit either. Like I said, tantalizingly close last week. He was kind of off my radar. Seth was kind of shitting on him a little bit. And I was like, you know what? A Blaney pickup might not hurt. I think it might not hurt this week either. Last fall, he was P6. That is his only top 10 here in the next gen. So it's definitely proceed with caution here with the 12, but you can say that about his 2025 stats, not just with his Bristol stats. He's P6 in the model, P8 in the next gen total speed rankings. Shout out to iFantasy Race on those. Arguably throughout the season, I don't know if there's been a car consistently better than the 12. I mean, you could argue the 11 and the 20 have these multiple wins, but throughout the full year, this 12 car has been damn good. They just need to have everything go right, and I don't really want to miss out when it does. I feel like this win for Blaney is coming sooner rather than later.
You want to talk about heartbreaking for Blaney. I mean, that was the race that once he made that pass, everybody was like, and here comes another Blaney win, right? Nope. How about we get Larson and Bubba to renew their old rivalry and get into each other?
Yeah, man, it was literally like as soon as he made that pass and cleared him, you see the lap cars down on the inside, and there goes Larson into the wall. But like I said, Blaney just absolutely snake bit, whether by the fault of his team and some faulty engines or by the fault of just some silly cautions. I vote too. I didn't mention this in the review. They should come up with some mathematical formula, something like that. If you are a bunch of laps down, I love being able to go back out there, get your data, get your team practice fixing the car. But if it's inside the last maybe 20% of the race, in a case like Darlington, maybe 30 to go, if you can't get any more spots and you're a bunch of laps down, get off the track. Because that could have happened to any two cars on the track. It was unfortunate that it was Larson, 160 laps down, unable to gain any further positions. But maybe a little, if NASCAR is going to get a little funky with the rules, that one maybe not a bad one in my opinion.
Listen, if we had 159 cautions, he's right there back on the lead lap. So I don't know what you're saying. He's getting every position he can. No, but I agree. That was such a rough position to lose the potential win on, and it just he said it's going to sting, and it's going to sting for a while, and I believe him.
Yeah, hey, if he needs 159 cautions, he should have ran the Xfinity race at Martinsville. He might have gotten them with how they ran. One more outright for me, and it's the Cat in the Hat RFK Racing. I like all three of these cars here, not just Ford. They're all really strong here. I do like Ford as a whole to win this week. I've got plus 280 Ford outright, as well as plus 175 for over 3.5 Fords in the top 10. And I have individual bets on all three of the RFK cars, so I will leave my extra data to those. And it starts with the placement props here. Not Ross Chastain, that's one of your bets. Ryan Preece is the RFK car here. I like him for a top 10 at plus 110 over on ESPNBet. This is the bet that changed on me this morning. It was plus 145 on Caesars, which was a little longer than most books, but I didn't have anything in the Caesars bankroll, so I got to deposit and make that bet, and then it goes down to plus. I think it went down to 105 on Caesars, so I had to jump over to ESPNBet. He's 12th in the model, so again, right near the top 10. His finishes the next gen 12th, 14th, and 7th, again, right around in the top 10, and that was all in the 41 card that, as we know, became closer and closer to a shitbox as time went on. But again, a P7 last fall. He's in a better car now. I've waxed poetic on Preece so far this year, and I'm sticking on the 60 car for a top 10.
I'm telling you, the reason that it got hammered down is because everybody loves this bet because it's a really damn good bet, especially at plus money. Ryan Preece, you laid out all the stats, and honestly, one of those guys where if you were to say rank the RFK drivers right now, I know there's a lot of people that would probably rank Buescher over Preece, but boy, it's, I think, a hell of a lot closer than you would imagine between Preece and Buescher. And then, of course, Keselowski kind of trailing up the back like old people normally do. But yeah, this is what happens. And I think Preece is a very pleasant surprise for RFK this year. And maybe not a surprise for guys who've been banging the drum. I know Cody's been huge on him over the last couple of seasons. So it's a good reward for those Preece truthers.
Yeah, late stage Stewart Haas Racing, I feel like really did the Cup Series a lot of favors. Brought in some of these talented guys that just needed a shot, and even if they couldn't give them the equipment that they really needed to thrive, we've seen it with Barry, we're seeing it with Preece. I'm sure we'll start really seeing it with Briscoe once he gets to handle these JGR cars as well. Definitely fun to watch these guys continue to thrive. As well as another guy, I spoiled his bet for you, but another guy who got that chance in good equipment and is now certainly a top 10 contender most weeks, at least when Trackhouse has their shit together.
Yeah, and I said this on the NASCAR gambling podcast a couple of days ago. I said that he's just been kind of sneaky. He hasn't been out there causing damage. He hasn't been out there ripping the walls. He's just been quietly putting together top 10 finishes. He's got 3 in the last 4 races of the season. And not to mention an 11th place at Phoenix and a 12th place at Coda, an 8th place at Atlanta. So, he's been there. He's been right there around the top 10, inside of the top 10, 6th at Martinsville, 7th at Darlington. And he's the kind of guy that at plus 130, you're definitely loving a top 10, especially because some of these top 10 numbers for the front runners are just nuked to holy hell. And you don't want to touch it. But for Chastain, twice in the 4 races that he's been on in this track in the 1 car have been top 10 finishes. Now I know that's not like super great. It's 50-50. You flip a coin, but plus money, I'm going to take the other side of the coin flip, because if it means that he finishes in the side of the top 10 and that's a plus money, then I got that. So last year he finished 10th here. The year before that, 15th. The year before that, 23rd, and then a 6th place finish in his first race here in the 1 car. So again, for Ross Chastain, this is just more of a guy that belongs inside of the top 10 on a week-to-week basis and is actually getting there now. And so until the books catch up, I think getting plus 130 for him is a really good deal.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. The top 10 odds really juiced to hell. I was almost crazy enough to maybe think about a Ty Gibbs top 10 with how all right he's been at Bristol, but that number was real. I feel like it was around like minus 175, something ridiculous that I just really didn't want to touch. So guys like Ross and Preece in the top 10. Chastain 9th in our model, 67%, which is I know it drops off pretty steep. That seems a far way off from Denny Hamlin's 97%, but still more than respectable numbers for Chastain as well. And to round out the placement props, more respectable number than I thought, both in the betting and in the stats for Michael McDowell for the top 10. Was not really on my radar, but was P16 in the model and has better career stats here than I really realized. If we're talking about the next gen, he's got a P6 and he's got 3 P11s, including both races last year. So whether it's tires are going crazy or tires aren't doing anything, we've seen McDowell come ever so close to the top 10 here. And we know Bristol's a good track for him, going all the way back to when he was running Phil Parsons and early stage Levine family racing, for lack of a better term, ship boxes, was putting together T20s and T25s more than once in those cars. I know it's still pretty tough for Spire to put days together. Hocevar's kind of nuts. Justin Haley's still kind of moving into things. McDowell's got the consistency with him. He's got the veteran experience, and he's come damn close to top 10s here very recently in the next gen. I think at plus 375, with how juiced that top 10 market is, give me some McNasty this week on my card.
Well, and then this also allows for the fact that if he is running somewhere in that top 15 range, right, if something really jumps up and bites it in the last couple of laps, or maybe the last 15, 20 laps, and it shuffles the thing. I mean, because here's what we've seen too. We've seen pit strategies shake up the field a lot over the last few races. And so this is not necessarily a huge risk to take, because if he does, he's a driver that can keep himself in contention and slide into a top 10 finish by the end of the race.
Yeah, it's definitely not a super heavy unit share that I have on this one, but definitely worth throwing some coin on. Like I said, top 10 market, super juiced. Stan bringing up a pretty good bet here is moving to matchups. Byron over Blaney at plus 160. Number is too good. I couldn't resist it. And honestly, at that number, Stan, I kind of dig it too. I'm on Blaney, but it's one of those things that you got to hedge yourself. And with how Blaney has kind of been, you do kind of want to protect yourself in case shit continues to hit the fan for the 12. And you could do a hell of a lot worse than Byron here.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Blaney. I really do. And it's my youngest daughter's favorite driver. She loves Bubba and she loves Blaney. And boy, she was happy for a better part of that race until both of them found a way to not have a good finish to that race.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation there. But like I said, cracking open the matchups here, this is where I start to get more of the RFK guys in here. I'm going RFK over Hendrick car here. Chris Buescher over Chase Elliott, plus 120 on BetMGM. Occasionally with numbers, I didn't really have a BetMGM. BetMGM had given us some trouble. Both Seth and I having some issues signing up in the past. I went for it again this week, and it worked. So I'm now on BetMGM as well, and I'm able to actually bet a bet that I shout out, not just, okay, it has the best odds at MGM, but they won't let me in the door, so I have to. Anyway, it worked out, and I had this beauty waiting for me. This is just a big-time number disparity, too. Buescher at plus 120. Chase Elliott is all the way down at minus 155. He does have very marginally better numbers. His finishes the next gen here for Chase Elliott, 2nd, 7th, 8th, and 2nd and 3rd in the model. But for Chris Buescher, he's got the win here and would have ran even if Keselowski didn't have his issue, still would have ran well. He's got that win, a P4, a P7, and a P14 in the fall, and is 8th in the model. That to me is not enough of a difference in stats for this much of a price, and especially being on the RFK train this week, that's all the more I needed to hop on Buescher over Chase here.
I wish I had the faith in Chris Buescher that you and Cody have. I don't, it's not that I don't think he can do it, because obviously he's done it before, but it just doesn't, like when I think of Chris Buescher, it doesn't make me excited to get up and do much. So sorry, Chris, you're probably a great guy. I want to have beer with you sometime. But when it comes to the betting world, it happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen enough for me to just want to, climb up and get onto it. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just blinding myself against it.
No, I completely understand that. Buescher, definitely one of those drivers in the Cup Series that doesn't always get the credit he deserves, kind of like the guy you have in this next matchup.
How about it? How about me some Alex Bowman? I know you're going to love this one for sure. I'm going to take him over Josh Berry, -120. It's not that Josh Berry hasn't been doing great so far this season. Obviously, one of the better stories in that 21 car, and we love the fact that Wood Brothers is relevant again. However, this is not necessarily one of his best tracks at all. Josh Berry in the Xfinity Series, 2 finishes of 35th or worse, 35th in the 2021. And these are all in JRM cars, right? These are the elite cars of the Xfinity Series, and he still can't pilot it into a decent finish. Oh, he did once. He actually got a 7th place finish 1 year, but 2 years and 2 years out of the 3, 35th place finish and a 36th. And lest we just say, well, he probably didn't qualify well. No, he qualified 2nd in both of the races, the last 2 races that he was in on this particular track. So in the Xfinity Series, not too good for him. In the Cup Series, it's been 50-50, a 12th place finish in 2024 in the spring. He led 25 laps of that race, and then 29th in the fall. So again, not necessarily all that great to hang your hat on for Josh Berry. And as much of a darling as he was at Phoenix and Las Vegas, he comes back with a 17th at Homestead, 32nd at Martinsville, and a 36th at Darlington. So just has not been all that great for Josh Berry over the last few weeks. Will he finish well? Sure. Can he finish in the top 15? Probably. But I tell you right now, Alex Bowman, 3 straight seasons in which he's finished inside the top 15 on this track. 13th in 2023, 4th in the spring of last year, 9th in the fall after a pole position start. And if you look at this season so far, I mean, look, the last couple races for him have been bad too, 27th and 35th. But before that, a 2nd place at Homestead, 7th place at Vegas, 7th at Phoenix, 9th at Austin, 6th at Daytona. So, a consistent finisher in and around the top 10, whereas Josh Berry was a great story a couple of weeks ago, but try to sustain that, I don't know. But I do love me some Alex Bowman over Josh Berry this week.
Yeah, and in terms of that recent form, it is definitely tough because all 5 of those most recent finishes laid out, the 2 for Bowman and the 3 for Berry, almost kind of asterisk marks. At Homestead, we didn't really get to see what Berry had, got spun on pit road. Martinsville had that alternator battery issue, whatever it was there, that relegated him down the finishing order. And that was running fairly well. I don't think he was running well at the start, but I think the pit sequence there in the middle of the race kind of got him up front and gets turned and ends up crashing out. So I would give Berry the benefit of the doubt here, but you're right. I was looking at his stats, thinking, short track ace, maybe there's a way I can get him on my card. The stats just aren't great here. For Bowman, he ran like shit the past 2 weeks, but it's because those are 2 of his kind of mediocre racetracks. Martinsville, of course, ran into an issue there, as well as at Darlington, normally arguably his worst racetrack, was running top 10. I was like, there's no way this is going to stick. Like, my first bet of last week was the Buescher over Bowman because Darlington's not his track. And sure enough, gets loose, hits the wall, has to spend 15 laps on pit road, changing the toe link. It felt like forever to me, but it was only about 10 minutes to change an important part on a race car, which is, it doesn't sound that bad with something like a toe link. Anyway, point is, I definitely can agree with this bet, but you can give Berry the benefit of the doubt here. A matchup that I won't give the other guy the benefit of the doubt. Brad Keselowski over Kyle Busch. Again, a pretty juicy number for me, -140 on ESPNBet. And it's tough because normally you think of Bristol as Rowdy's playground. Kyle Busch, what I say, 8 or 9 career wins here, has pulled off the sweep here twice. Those days are long gone. I learned that lesson the hard way a couple of years ago. I think his first race in the 8 at Bristol, I was real heavy on that 8 car. Didn't work out so well. He has not finished better than 20th in the next gen. It has not been good for Kyle Busch. Meanwhile, for Keselowski, it's been sort of back and forth. had a P13 that he should have won, but had a flat tire late in the race there, a P8 and a P3, 26 last fall. I didn't look into whether that was an asterisk mark or not, because the other 3 finishes for me, good enough to fade Kyle Busch, which again, a shock at Bristol, but those are the days.
Yeah, this is my week to actually be on Brad Keselowski. I've been pretty critical of him as of late, and Underdog actually has his finishing projection at 12.5, and I really truly believe that this is at least a top 12 race for Brad Keselowski, if not a top 10. If we think, right, and this is you're laying out the narratives for Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece to be top 10 cars, then Brad Keselowski should be good on this track as well, as he's historically been decent enough. And you're right, with Kyle Busch, this is more about fading Kyle Busch than it really is about backing Brad Keselowski, because it doesn't matter if Brad Keselowski finishes in 15th. Kyle Busch is probably going to finish in 25th. So you may get a 20th place finish from Keselowski and still hit this one. So I like this one as well.
Yeah, I know Brad is going to want to run very well here too, though. He knows it's been a struggle. He knows it has not gone quite as well as he wants to. In the model, down at P15, again, respectable, but better than Kyle Busch as I scroll down and down and down. P20 for the 8 car. So Keselowski's got the edge in the model, has the edge in the finishes. I'm giving him the edge here as well in this matchup. I've got one more cup bet. Going with a group bet. We're not doing that very often nowadays, but I was looking for ways to get Zane Smith on my card in a reasonable fashion. I picked Group F over on Caesars at plus 240. That's against Austin Dillon, Todd Gilliland, and Cole Custer. 38's the favorite in this group, but still worth it to me. On 5 of the last 6 ovals, this 38 car has been top 16. Last 3 weeks, P11, P16, and P12. And listen, I know I'm a sucker for the front row 38, almost getting top 10s and not quite getting there, but betting on them anyway. But I just had to give something to Zane Smith this week, especially with Lucky Dog on the car with Aaron's. You know, that's an old NASCAR classic. They don't call it the free pass to Lucky Dog anymore, but this 38, a Lucky Dog over these 3 guys for sure. Austin Dillon only 1 top 20 in the next gen. Todd Gilliland was kind of okay in 2023 with 2 top 20 finishes, but then outside of the top 25, both races last year. And Cole Custer in that 41 car. The Haas Cup car has run about just as bad as the Haas F1 car. So not much scaring me there with the 41.
Yeah, no, this is one where Zane pretty much should do it. And by the way, Michael Waltrip's sad that the Lucky Dog is not the Lucky Dog anymore. That dude loves saying it about as much as anybody. But yeah, when you look at the rest of the contenders in this one, Zane Smith seems to be the guy that's, and somebody earlier today was asking me, well, why not Zane Smith? And it's like, listen, it's not that we don't think Zane Smith is going to be good, but when you factor in top 10s, when you factor in some of these like top manufacturers, you can't really get in on that angle. This is the one angle that you can feel comfortable with, because you're not putting Zane in a group with guys like Chastain or guys like Keselowski or guys like Preece. You're putting him in with the Gillilands of the world, right? And yeah, they can jump up and have a good finish, but we've seen Zane Smith consistently compete, where some of these other guys were like, hey, this is a fringe top 10 bet. This is on a super speedway or, you know, something like that. We can legit say that Zane Smith is at least a top 15 contender in his given situation right now.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the groups too, and why I'm honestly betting them a little more wouldn't hurt for me. I know Seth is scared of them too, but you don't have to get a top 10. You don't have to go win the race. You just got to beat the handful of guys. And Zane has run all right. He's only got to beat a teammate. He's got to beat a shitbox, and he's got to beat a has-been or maybe never was in Austin Dillon as well. Moving to the Xfinity Series, again, Xfinity Truck F1, we've got 1 bet apiece, and I'll just have you start off with the Xfinity Series.
The Mr. Second Place himself, I'm going to go with Sheldon Creed as a top 3 finisher, plus 350 via Bet365 over there. If I asked you what he finished last year in this race, the easy answer is second place. This guy loves to finish in the top, or he loves to finish as runner-up. It doesn't matter what happens. Sheldon Creed, he makes a living out of being a second place driver. And, you know, listen, there's something to be said about him winning his first race eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. I will say that he does have 2 top 3 finishes so far this season, a second place at Martinsville a couple of weeks ago, a 3rd place at Daytona, but a top 10 finish at Darlington the other week or last week, a 5th place at Homestead, and a 10th place at Vegas, as well as a 12th in Coda and 14th in Atlanta. But I mean, listen, this is just more banking on the fact that Sheldon Creed loves him some second place finishes. And you talk about the Haas factory car in the Cup Series not doing all that well. Well, that's not the case in the Xfinity Series. Those Haas cars are actually still class of the field, like when Cole Custer was driving that 00. Sheldon Creed seems to have taken his spirit and put it into the new 00 and be in competition pretty much every single race. So Sheldon Creed is not bad on this track. Like I said, a second place finish last year, led 28 laps. He led 34 laps actually in 2022. Unfortunately, finished 37th in that after he crashed out. But like I said, there's a guy that loves finishing some more second place finishes than anybody in the world in the Xfinity series. So if you get plus 350 for a guy that loves second place, you take it.
And that's part of why I was on, I guess I was on his outright. So that's not second place. That's him finally getting a win. But Darlington, arguably his best, his favorite track, didn't go really well. I didn't watch a whole lot of that race. Wasn't really having my eyes on that 00 car. But keeping an eye on the leaderboard, he was never really up there in contention. Kind of ran around 10th. And again, in the Xfinity and truck races this weekend, to pick an outright, pretty much impossible because it just feels like Kyle Larson is inevitable. Again, minus money on both of them. Definitely ups the odds a little bit down the board. But if you are going to go with Creed, top 3, top 5, probably the way to do it. I'm a little scared off after I thought he was going to be great at Darlington and really was a second-class car probably, not up there with the leaders last week.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And you love it for the guy. I called him because I used to call him a Canadian driver, whatever. I got him and Stuart Friesen mixed up when I first started following Xfinity and trucks again. And so Sheldon Creed is my favorite Canadian driver that's not from Canada, but actually from California. So that's my Sheldon Creed love.
He's got a little Canadian look to him. I would buy it if I didn't know who he was. And you say, "Oh, that guy's he's from Toronto. What are you talking about?" I'd buy it. All-time winner in Robbie Gordon's, I think it's called Stadium Super Truck Series. I was reminded of on Twitter today. Sheldon Creed still looking for that first win in the Xfinity Series. Another guy looking for his first Xfinity win, Carson Kvapil. I'm going with him to finish top 10. Again, juicy-ish number at minus 150 on ESPNBet. But this is what I'm comfortable betting Kvapil with. Again, with Larson in the field, damn near impossible to pick an outright, especially for a first-time winner. We know this kid's a short track ace, though. Building confidence on the bigger tracks as well. P5 at Darlington last week. His only Bristol start, his only truck series start of his career. Finished P12 in 2023 in the Spire number 7. Of course, last year, starting off his Xfinity career at shorter tracks, Martinsville. I have Bristol written down here, but it wasn't Bristol. It was Dover and New Hampshire. Top 5 runs at all those places, including our closest comp track of Dover. Again, it's a matter of time, I feel like, until we see him get his first win. We know the JRM cars are really good. I just feel like a win this week is a little much. I like him at a top 10 number. A lot of books didn't have the top 10s up, but thankfully ESPNBet coming in clutch there. Minus 150, a glass of juice I don't mind drinking this week.
So it's funny because JRM, when they were coming into this season, we knew they had young talent. We knew that they were going to be good. We knew that they were going to be, competitive cars, but I don't know. I don't know if I expected them to be this good, this fast, right? I mean, we saw flashes of it last year. We saw them come in, but I thought, okay, first full season, they're still going to probably try to get their bearings. No, these guys have hit the ground running. Both of them contention almost each and every week for a win. In fact, I like Kvapil over Sammy Smith this week at minus 110. Caesars has that as well. So I'm pretty high on Kvapil as well. Top 10 number, like I said, maybe a little too much juice for me to drink, but I do love the fact that it's probably one that's going to cash. And so you don't even have to, it's Cody says, you only drink the juice if you lose, and you're not going to do it.
Yeah, minus 110 against Sammy Smith, a fair number there too. I feel like Sammy will definitely be, what's the phrase I'm looking for? He won't be as aggressive as he might have been if he didn't have the entire world of NASCAR on his back from a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville. So maybe the beating and banging normally on short tracks for everyone else, Sammy Smith maybe kind of hands off on that this week.
It's the 8 against the world, isn't it?
Certainly seems that way. In the truck series, I've got a top 3. You got a top 5 bet. My top 3 bets for Chandler Smith, plus 220 over on Bet365. Honestly, Bristol might be this kid's best track, regardless of Xfinity or truck series. 4 truck starts, P2, P5, P1, and P9. And in that P9, most recently, he led 89 laps, so he was a contender in that race as well. 2 starts in Xfinity, P5 and P3. That's damn near an unblemished record at this place. And again, I don't know if he can beat the Larsons or the Himes or his teammate Lane Riggs of the world, but he should be amongst them. I like the podium top 3 finish for Chandler Smith in that truck this week.
Yeah, Chandler Smith has me scratching my head half the time because I know that he's a good driver and I know that he's capable of doing all that, but sometimes he just seems to get in his own way. But yeah, I mean, you're right. If there's anybody that isn't afraid of the Larsons of the world, of the Himes of the world, it is Chandler Smith. And he is a talented enough driver that he should be a top 3 truck each and every week. And at plus 220, yeah, you're definitely taking advantage of that. So I love that.
Yeah, and every single week, it hasn't been that way for Chandler Smith. He's reacclimating, I'm sure, to these trucks, to the FRM equipment. But at a place like Bristol, it's one of those where you can throw Chandler Smith in any equipment. He's probably going to run well here. So definitely something I'm looking for this week. You've got a pretty good truck bet here as well for a top 5 on a guy that I don't know why I didn't think of until you put him on the board.
Because nobody thinks of Tyler Ankrum. That's the glory of Tyler Ankrum, and that's the best part about it, is because him in that 18 truck, you just sort of take for granted that you're like, oh, it's Tyler Ankrum. Okay, I don't know who that is, and you still don't know who that is, even after he rips off top 5 finishes like he's done 3 times in the last 4 races, right? A 3rd place in Atlanta. He did get a 10th place at Las Vegas, which is why I would have loved the top 10 bet. Unfortunately, you don't get top 10s in the trucks, but I would have loved the top 10, but I still love the top 5 because guess what? 4th place at Homestead last week, 2nd place at Martinsville, or the last race that they ran. This track has been sort of hit and miss for him, but he does have a top 5 in the spring of 2024 in the 18 truck as well. So he's done it once, and he was top 10 in the fall of 2024. So it's not a top 5, but it's still, within spitting distance of a top 5. It's not like he finished 35th in the fall race. It was a top 5 in the spring, top 10 in the fall. But for how he's been running lately, right? This is such a great stab. I know that we're already putting Larson in the top. I know we're already putting Heim in the top. We're probably already putting Chandler, which is why a top 3 bet doesn't make sense for Ankrum. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's like, well, now you're playing with a couple of spots, and is it Enfinger that jumps in there? Is it Rhodes? Is it Majeski? But Ankrum's been the one that's been getting there over the last couple of races. So I really do love this plus 350 for a guy that's done it the last couple of races that he's been on the track. So sneaky play, but give me Tyler Ankrum top 5.
Yeah, Bristol's got a little bit more room to race than a place like Martinsville, but we saw Ankrum take really good advantage of that. Like you said, Heim kind of got knocked out. Honeycutt and Majeski knocked each other out. Tyler Ankrum was just a couple laps away from taking a win there. Still ends up with a great finish, and his teammate Daniel Hemrick taking the win. I know Bristol Martinsville, not quite as much of a comparison there, but short track plus what have you done for me lately equals a plus 350 for a top 5 as a pretty good bet. Probably going to have to hop on this one too with you once we get done off the show. Definitely one of the more underrated guys, but somebody that you can't ignore, I feel like.
Yeah, because people are like, Tyler Ankrum, what? Who's Tyler Ankrum? Well, I guess Tyler Ankrum's a top 5 finisher, and he'll make you money off every week.
Yeah, definitely worth looking at. Last but certainly not least, we got Formula One in Bahrain this weekend. Again, exciting race in Suzuka, at least out front, or at least if you're a Max Verstappen fan, or if you like seeing McLarens be lawnmowers. That also was the main story of the race. Got a podium bet, got a top 6 bet. Rod, who you got on the podium this week?
I'm actually putting Lewis Hamilton on the podium this week. Let's get him his first Ferrari podium of the season, plus 350 for, if you look up, if you know nothing of F1, Lewis Hamilton is essentially the rock star of all rock stars. He's the Jimmy Johnson of the F1 circuit, where just wins championships. That's what this guy did with Mercedes. He's been a long time guy on this one. He's 5 wins on this track in particular. And, he's in Ferrari colors now. It hasn't been the kind of season that him or Ferrari wanted it to be, right? He jumped out to a 10th place finish in Melbourne, 19th after getting disqualified in Shanghai. Last week, though, bounced back for a 7th place finish. Something's going to happen. Something's about to happen with these guys. Even when you look at a guy like Charles Leclerc as well, his teammate, like both of these guys, something's got to happen for Ferrari because McLaren's starting to take over. Red Bull asserted their dominance last week with Verstappen again coming up. But, maybe Max falls back into not being the fastest car this coming week. Maybe McLaren does slip up a little bit. Who's right there? It's Mercedes. It's Mercedes that's right there to try to snatch that up. And if they get something figured out, this team will be able to be competitive. And I think Lewis Hamilton is too damn good of a driver to be kept off the podium for this long. So give me Lewis Hamilton on the podium at plus 350.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, won the sprint race going away in China, and then the car was DQ'd in the GP. Who knows how legal that car may have been in the sprint to get him that win, but it still counts for something. You get points for it. Lewis Hamilton, that has been the bright spot there. But hey, you mentioned it. Who's there to step up when McLaren if McLaren gets knocked back a little bit, if Max doesn't run well for Red Bull? It's Mercedes, and it's his old ride. Kimi Antonelli, the 18-year-old gentleman who came in to replace Hamilton in that Mercedes. He's been super impressive this year. I'm going with him for a top 6 once again at minus 163. on Bet365, and it's a steep glass of juice to drink because he's done it 3 for 3 this year. Again, 18-year-old driver, first F1 starts, P4 in that absolute mess of a rain race, coming from a pretty deep starting position in Melbourne, and then P6 each of the last 2 weeks, and also 3. And of course, it was pit cycles and things like that. But he became the youngest driver to lead an F1 race and the youngest driver to set a fastest lap. I feel like the future is bright for this kid. Mercedes as a whole has kind of run better than I thought they were. I kind of thought Ferrari would be ahead of them. I thought McLaren for sure, and I thought maybe even both the Red Bulls will kind of be ahead of Mercedes, but they've been super respectable. George Russell is, the maybe number 2 in the title fight there behind your Landos and Maxes. And Kimi continuing to run well. And like I said, steep glass of juice to drink, but he's really been impressive. Mercedes has been impressive, and I like him to continue that run this week.
18, I was getting yelled at by drill sergeants doing push-ups. This guy's leading F1 and having a good time doing it. But I will say this to you, as far as Kimi Antonelli, like he definitely has risen to that ride, and I do believe that this is one kid that we're going to be watching for a very long time, and he's going to be very, very good in that ride. And he's delivered on it, right? I mean, he hasn't been afraid of these other drivers that are out around him. Whereas you see some of these other guys that are popping in, like the Dohans, like the Lawsoms, like the Bortolettis, like the rookies that are in right now. Like it's just been tough for them. But for Kimi, that's like another day at the track for him. And I do like him a lot. And the fact that he's piloting that Mercedes equipment the way it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, unlike the second Red Bull car, it's definitely all roses for Kimi.
Yeah, and you mentioned all those other rookies having kind of a rougher time of it. They're not in Mercedes. The Mercedes still pretty solid, but you have to drive it well. We saw with Liam Lawson, talented kid, couldn't figure out that Red Bull. They yanked him out maybe a little sooner than they should have, but I'm not going to knock the opportunity for Yuki Tsunoda. Didn't go quite the way he wanted to in Japan when I shouted out the top 6 there, but you haven't heard the last from him in that Red Bull for sure, and you haven't heard the last from Kimi. Maybe he's not going to be a 7-time world champ like Lewis Hamilton, but certainly will be fun to watch. Just as I hope you have all had fun watching this show. Grateful for you, Rod, to be on again this week. NASCAR Gambling Podcast, So You Like Sports, all those great places to support your work as well. Thankful to have you on the back road when you're here.
Absolutely. Sipping on my Tennessee whiskey for the Bristol, Tennessee.
All right.
That I was all ready for that one. Catch me on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link to the stuff that I got going on, like Elliot said. So You Like Sports, been cranking that out. I had some esports, some Call of Duty betting picks. I had some betting, darts betting picks. We've got Aussie Rules football up there. We're about to have UFL Week 4 up there as well. So lots going on soyouLikeSports.com. Go check that out.
Yeah, and it is a beautiful thing. You betting everything from, like you said, Call of Duty betting, something that I hadn't heard of until I saw it on So You Like Sports. So gotta love all the different markets you can get into. I certainly have had fun expanding my auto racing markets into F1 this year. And hopefully you have enjoyed all the bets we've been able to shout out tonight. Once again, give a like, subscribe, go and visit our website in-betweenmedia.com. Hop in the IBT Racing Family Discord. All of these beautiful, wonderful things you can do. But most importantly, thank you for rolling down the back road with us, and best of luck on all your bets this weekend. We'll see you again next week on the back road.